when trauma happens to us, we get these harsh emotions that guilt or blame or uncertain. Where when we tune the frequencies back in, we come settle one within. So we get to deal with these emotions from a different standpoint on the outside of us, which was so beautiful for the mom today because she may have felt guilt and there was no guilt in the vibrations. Mm-hmm. So why are you feeling guilt? Do you know how much of a release that is for her?
That's life changing.
That's the first part of healing. Mm-hmm. Relieving the guilt. And that's also for the wound energy of the women that takes place, relieving the guilt. And these vibrations help create that.
Hey biohackers, welcome back to Biohack with Bailey. Today we have the honor of diving into a deep conversation with blues musician Ladell Mclin. Ladell is based between New York and Paris. He is now specializing in womb healing through sound. He has had an epic career. He played with B.B. King, the legendary blues musician, and he and I dive into topics such as the language of music, commercialization of sex, sexual abuse and why it seems to be plaguing humanity, how we can integrate aboriginal or indigenous wisdom to help us evolve beyond this plague, and how music and sound and the frequencies of music and sound can heal us. So thank you. Welcome, Ladell. It's my honor to have you here. So Ladell and I have known each other for at least 7 years. He performed at one of the first art shows that I ever produced here in Paris, and again at one in New York, and then my recent solo show here in Paris. And we just collaborated on a womb healing session at the art show. Can you tell us a little bit about you and just a bit about your background and what brings you here?
Yeah, well, I was born and raised on the south side of Chicago. And my father, a drummer in music, my brother, a drummer in music, my grandfather played trumpet and music. And so I had music always surrounded by me. My cousins played music in bands like the Shallites. Marshall Thompson's a cousin of my father. And so I had this American culture of music surrounded by me when I grew up. So music was like a food of choice. I mean, my food. You had your regular food, but you had your food of vibrations. And every time the music was on in the house, everything felt so good. So, and the vibrations, everybody's happy, everybody's singing, dancing, or playing an instrument. So I always felt comfortable, like the music was a fabric that wrapped around me, felt healed, and so it was a big part of my life. And later on, I started to play drums, and to generate a sound and get a response back, I felt the vibration go through my body, and I could feel the frequencies as well too, like boom, boom, and they go through me like whoa. It's very powerful. And later on, I switched over to guitar at age 12 because watching Chuck Berry, and I asked my dad who was the best guitar player in the world, and my dad, and I'm watching Chuck Berry. He says, "Son, that was another guy, but he passed away, and it's just Jimi Hendrix." So I'm listening to Chuck Berry, and little did I know, I already heard Jimi Hendrix because there is a song called on the Band of Gypsy called "Who Knows," and if anybody lives in Chicago or Detroit, the people step there. You remember I was teaching you stepping. Mm-hmm. So they played JB's, some other songs that that had a groove and they could step to. And one of the songs would be "Who Knows." They'd be stepping to that. That'd come in, that'd swim in there. And I remember a friend of mine was DJing and he played "Who Knows." And I looked at the album. I was like, "What's that? What's that?" And I looked at the album, and it's a band of gypsy, Jimi Hendrix Band of Gypsies. So that's all Aborigine. I'm calling them Aborigine American. Uh, Buddy Miles, Billy Cox, and Jimi Hendrix, uh, the band. And so that song reached the urban areas, not the Purple Hazes and everything else, but that song reached the urban areas and reached back to their people in a form of stepping. Who knows that? Who knows? That's the song. So, and Machine Gun was on there. I was like, oh my God, like, and we DJing for people stepping, and I wanted to listen to Machine Gun, and like what is Machine Gun? And when you at a black party and you mess up the music, you're not probably gonna make it out of that live. That's how we love our music. I always said the hardest audience for us to present our music to was the black audience, because I remember the blues clubs like Buddy Got Legends. Before Buddy Got Legends, you had the Checkerboard and you had Teresa's, and this used to have a majority of um, a all black audience, and the music was so strong that if you mess up the music, somebody was going to get cut that night. Like cut, so you had, that was intensity. So this has been going on since the Chitlin circuit. So I wanted to get to Machine Gun, and so and I'm DJing with my friend, and I'm DJing, and who knows is getting into the part with all the other stuff, and he's signaling to me. I'm like, I got this, and then Machine Gun comes on, and I have to spin another racket in. So I'm spinning James Brown in and listening to Machine Gun going at the same time, really low. And he's like, "I'm going to kill you if you. They're going to kill you." And I like, okay, spin the other racket in. I took the whole album of Band of Gypsy and left right there and went home and listened to it. So that was the first time we've been introduced to like the full Jimi Hendrix situation with Band of Gypsies, and that album had a lot of healing properties to it too. Yeah.
And then you, from what I understand, like kept going with the music. I remember the other night when we were at your show, you were playing a Jimi Hendrix song with your teeth, and I was just like, oh, I love dancing to Ladell playing music. It's a spiritual experience. But then how do you, like, what led you into doing more specifically like the wound healing?
Well, I got into the wound healing. A friend of mine, Deanna Clough, and her husband, and they were studying, I think, in 2010. And first time when I said wound healing, I just think it's for women. Like I'm like it's for women. And as you get deeper into the studies, as I read the book, I was reading part of the book, it's for men as well too. How our sexual wound energy is our strongest point, and when it's abused or misused by us, abused and misused by us, that it plays an important role in our whole life, our center, because the wound energy is what's the circle of life, the creation of life, and everything comes through there. So we only think of it as a sexual situation, but no, it's the creation. When you get into creation, you get into miraculous energy of the creator, and that comes through the womb. And so I'm like, wow, this is very powerful for men to learn as well too. So I started to read it, the book, and to listen to what Deanna and Fred was talking about. And they offered a course of the sacred embodied wound healing, and I signed up to take the course. And what I learned in there is like, say for instance that like if you go to a bar and you meet a girl, you get take some drinks, and you get intoxicated, and both of y'all are intoxicated. Y'all go home, have sex, and whatever. You have expanded this energy, which is nature is wanting to feed on. So it's like almost like polluting it's a pollution. It's almost like a pollution because there's no sacred ceremony into that.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to get into the part where animals mate during what? The mating season. And it's kind of done sacred. They, some of the animals do a dance and so, and some of these Aborigine tribes of Africa, all the way over to the Asias into America, there's a ritual introduction into the manhood, the womanhood. And someone mentioned, I think it was Joseph Campbell, The Power of a Myth. He was saying, like, in Africa, like, you can go there and people walking around, you know, very little clothes on, but there's no destruction of sexual situations. And he says when the young man becomes into his one manhood, there's a ritual that takes place, and he must choose. And when a young woman comes into her womanhood, there's a ritual that takes place. I'm not talking about all the other stuff of the circumcise of the women. This is just like all natural on some of these tribes, and you don't generate a community of suffering. Circle, repeat, 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 and like sex is um, commercialized in a way where people want it. And if when they want it, that means they have to do something really not good to get it,
Mm.
majority of the time. So once we understand our womb energy and what it's used for, it takes that that destruction away from that, and
Mm-hmm.
that creates a harmony among the family, the community, and everything. So I was very grateful and with gratitude and appreciation to take that course and finish it and complete it. Yes, and learn about the sacred wound healing and wound energy. And as I said, we wounds connect to nature. It it connects directly to nature.
Mm-hmm. Just like the
So.
woman's syncs up with the moon for the like
Mhm.
bleeding cycle.
Yeah, so everything that we do, even when we join together, man and woman or whatever you are, you joining together with nature, and nature feels that energy because nature is the one that provides for that new life that's coming in. So she has to do her inventory just as well. Everything has to be, you know, in sync. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And so, what about? Because I know with your kind of like career background of music before, which I don't know if it's like a before and after in terms of getting into the healing, because when you play the blues, I feel like there's healing happening there already, just like you said in your family home and stuff. But I know that you played with BB King at some point and were touring. Did you feel like there was like a spiritual element to the way that he and you guys all playing together would interact with music?
Well, there's a language that's beyond any words with the music with like BB King. I mean, one of his notes is just like it goes right through you, vibrative field, and I remember meeting him in the warmth. He just invited in you. And it's not I'm a big star and I did all of this. It's just like come here. It's like come here, my son.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like wow, you're meeting somebody of your family, your heritage, your lineages, but also there's a godlike spirit to that. I'm not saying he's a god, but there's a god spirit to
Yeah.
that situation, and everybody is welcome in. It over all the it outweighs all of any sex, race, or anything. It's just music. It's a vibration, and I take you back to like some of the like if a trauma happens to someone, this is a study that they go, that's them vibrating and start to heal themselves. And if
Mm-hmm.
we have, like, I get into the bowls later, we can help elevate them there. Or we want to get to a point where we can stop it from even occurring once everybody is educated on there.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So to get back to BB King, then in the blues is healing. Everybody thinks it's so sad. No, it's a very healing. And you're happy, you feel rejoiced, you feel new energy. Something is going on there. And I tuned down to 432. I've been doing that because I learned that from like Hendrix, Albert King, and some of the old blues guys that was tuned down to
Mm-hmm.
432. And it's more better for the voice, but the vibrational field is so warm and
Mm-hmm.
so inviting you in. You understand? It's not 440 where it's like, yeah, here I am, take it. It's there. You're programmed to follow this.
Mm-hmm.
It invites you in, so you feel comfortable in
And what do you feel in regards to when you were saying, like, as there's more education and stuff, we can hopefully move into a direction where this kind of invasive sexual kind of stuff is not happening? What do you think, like, for so many people that I've been talking to, when I talk about a bit of my background with the sexual trauma and the purpose of the
there.
podcast and bringing kind of like light and awareness into the transformational process of moving through trauma and transcending it and coming into a state of thriving and bliss and balance and all of these things. Almost every person that I talked to like was molested as a child and they've had this suppressed memory it's coming up, or they've experienced full on rape, or they've some kind of trauma. But I'm finding more and more, like way more than I even thought, that a lot of people like were molested as a kid and stuff like this. What do you think it is that as a society that's so prominent?
Well, as I said, the commercialism of sex and not teaching, like, like, I'm going to bring something. I'm over in Barbas, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
always see the mother carrying a child like wrapped close to her. That child does not holler or scream or nothing. It's just like something is really connected. And so, like, as I explained with Joseph Campbell, the women can walk around with their breasts out and nobody feels, threatened, first of all, or invasive to invade her.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because they have their rituals and they know their energy, what it calls. Why are we teaching a European sexual education, which is damaging to our kids? Why are we teaching that? Oh, kids need to learn that this is a sacred energy and that from a young age, and that it shouldn't be violated and you shouldn't violate no one with that. That's the beginning of that. And the next part is that we need to learn from these Aboriginal tribes that why does this not did occur? It's not like, are they more advanced than us or are we less advanced? Like, see what is modern
Yeah.
society, weight the options.
So in my opinion, like to, for example, rape someone or molest a child or something is like of one of the worst, most low vibrational things that you can do as a
It's evil.
human.
Yes, evil.
It's like, murdering someone or
Mm-hmm.
that. And
Mm-hmm.
actually, like, yeah, both are
Mm-hmm.
terrible. But when it's like rape or molestation or whatever, you actually have to live with it. And it
Mm-hmm.
causes the trauma and then the whole cycle and like generations of trauma and all of it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how can we get in there and infuse global society with these principles from the indigenous tribes and stuff that you're talking about, to remember the sacred nature of it, so that these kids and people of all ages aren't experiencing this and then becoming fractured and
Mm-hmm.
thus fracturing forward.
Well, I'm going to start with the masculine energy, the male energy, as we are taught to be males and masculine, strong physically. And I grew up around six sisters, so I knew the power of a woman was just as equal as a man because, they all had kids. I seen them go through it, and I'm like, wow, a man can never go through that. That's strength. That's something. They get the glow. They get enlightened. They get the. It's something that happens with them
Mm-hmm.
and so the male needs to be taught that you do not mess with this godlike creature. This is sacred energy. And we need to teach them in the sense that, like, to not only support support and nurture and respect this energy, but also learn it and take it into yourself as you use it as well. Because we're all connected. And how can, if you're going to harm someone with that, you're harming someone's sister, you're harming someone's mother. So would you like someone to harm your sister and your mother as well, too? So you got to treat each person. We always say, well, hey, brother, hey, sister. But we have to treat each other like that in
Mm-hmm.
these sexual. And so that's overcoming the misunderstanding and miseducation of sexual energy by the Western world. That's the first thing to do, and once we start to correct that education, then young boys and young girls will be able to come into their full a young adulthood without any interference of destroying each other that way, or
Mm-hmm.
even like signifying to a situation, whether you male, female, or you have different sexual preferences. It'll help even get that to a level.
Mm-hmm.
So, every time I hear that, it's hurtful because as a man, I can't imagine myself pushing myself to that limit
Mm-hmm.
to where I have to take something from a human physically. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the males need to be really educated with that and to a way. And also the females need to be educated with that because there's another way that happens through the manipulation with the, oh, this and that, this happened to me. You don't want to be the victim, then you're claiming other victims at the same time
Mm-hmm.
too. So we need to balance that energy, heal the ones that need to be healed, and teach the ones that's uneducated, and to get into a situation where if a woman says she's been sexually assaulted, the community needs to come together to support her and to make sure that she finds a place to heal properly and to deal with the other side of that. Whoever did that, this shouldn't happen again. This should be dealt with properly.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that most of us are ashamed to report it because they're afraid it might destroy them and their family. I said, no, do not ever do that. Take care of it right away because you don't want to be harmed again and you don't want them to harm someone else.
Yeah. I think part of that, like personally with my experience, as you know, I've experienced rape like 4 times and I've only reported one of them. And when it's why, yeah, I was convinced, like talked out of reporting it from nurses one time. Another time I was like 15, so I was scared and I knew the guy and he knew everyone in my town and stuff like that, and just different reasons. But the one time that I did report it, it was a lot of courage that it took. And it was like, a lot of emotion to go in there and face that and do that. And then nothing happened. It was just like, oh, you have no proof because it wasn't within time where you have forensic evidence and da da da. So I can see how people are not motivated to go that route with it. And it's just like, okay, I'm going to try to heal myself. Or a lot of people, like I did at times, just like escape through substances, more self destruction, all this kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Because it's like, how often does it actually go through into being dealt with? Like, even I just watched the Jeffrey Epstein documentary, and I mean, like, so many women for years and years and years were like having the evidence, going to the thing. And of course, he's a unique case because he's like a super powerful, or was a super powerful man. But
I don't call that power, I just call that weak.
yeah,
By using the system and whatever financial situation that they're connected to and gaining and the not only that, our government system even knew this.
hmm,
So that's what I'm saying. If we teach our kids and young adults the right way, we can make that aware that our government can't even cover for these people anymore. So when your own government is covering for somebody that did that, do you know how many women are going to be scared to step forward after that?
exactly.
So this is a crime committed against the crime, on and on again. And they can hide and get 20 years and go live in very plush place, and like we're gonna say 20 years, and you get do half you out in 10 years. You got all your money and stuff, but look all the people you harm. Look all the damage you have caused.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to let the system know that we're aware of what they're doing to protect these people, the higher ups, all the higher ups from the royalties of whatever. We have to make them aware. We know what you're doing, and we're going to make a change on that. That's what we
Mm-hmm.
have to do.
And I wonder, what do you think when you say about education, like educating people of the sacred nature of sexual energy and all of this? What about so many people these days identify as like atheist or things like that? Like they're just so put off by organized religion that as soon as they hear a word like God, they're just like, no, I don't believe in that, and just totally shut down. So how can that kind of education happen in a way that people are grasping like what sacred means, what sacred nature of sexual energy means when they're so maybe traumatized by religion and stuff that they have like strong doors up as soon as they hear any words associated with that.
Spirituality.
Yeah.
Well, spirituality first doesn't have anything to do with religion, quote unquote. Um, um, and as I always say spirituality and religion are two different things. You can believe in whatever God you want to believe in, so many, but when something is done incorrectly towards nature, our nature point, that's the highest above any God that they won't even set upon this planet. Because nature is our nurturer, and the woman is our nurturer. So she's one with nature.
Mm-hmm.
So no religion can even stand forth before her. I don't care if it's Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianity, because she's the sacred womb. She's the holy grail. That's her.
Mm-hmm.
And if she's damaged, then all of nature is damaged. And that's the highest of any of these gods that we want to even put forth on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to educate our kids about the sacred energy, and the females need to be educated of their sacred energy, and so they can better protect it, use it correctly, and also feel comfortable in their own who they are, and respect and be proud of who they are without anyone invading them, and also teaching, sharing and teaching this. And so I think we need to really do a thorough investigation of the education and the propaganda at the same time that modern society is teaching to kids and putting in their domain, which is
Mm-hmm.
generating all that scenes of unbalance in the sexual energy, the root energy. And I know it's good to learn ABC 1, 2, 3, go get a degree, but if you don't learn how to take care of yourself and take care of others, it doesn't mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Agreed. Well, can we hear a little bit about some of the music that you're working on and infusing these healing frequencies into,
Hmm.
as well as some of these healing sessions, like both one on one and group sessions that you're doing? Because I know you're about to go to New York, you're doing some sessions there.
Hmm.
We did one here. This is like a lifelong mission. So, where can people find you, and what kind of things can they work through? Like I know you work with some with couples, some with individuals, just maybe like a little run through so people watching know if something resonates, they're like, okay, Ladell's the man, I'm gonna get in touch with him.
Well, I've been getting a call in, and as I know that if you can see what's set up around me is the bowls, and when I first started to attain the bowls, I knew that when I was a kid, there used to be a frequency I used to tune on the equalizer, and I used to heal, and I get to that frequency, to go, and it blend right into my body frequency. And he said, wow, that's really good. And I'm not even making a sound, and it's harmonizing with my body frequency. So when I play music, I go out to play music. I'm, I'm, I'm letting the music come through me as much as possible. And, and, and what comes through is the healing format I was playing. There was a situation that happened. It was in Jersey City in a park, and I had my acoustic guitar, and this she was a friend, but her kid played with my kid in the park, and she had a skin irritation, and it was really bothering her. It was really, really, and I said, I can play something on my guitar to help her with that. And so you feel the energy come through you, the message come through you. And I played something on my guitar very softly, and the child came right over. She really just stood right here, and I'm playing it. And I'm just playing it, and she was so soothed. Now, all the other kids are playing. She stopped playing. And I don't know. I think I was playing something in G, but my guitar is tuned down half the step as well. So it was just soft, minor notes with some sevens in there and some very melodic things that it was just coming out through me. And so what took place was the next week they came back. She said, "You healed my daughter," it's not me healing your daughter. It's the music that's coming through me, the vibration that comes through me to heal your daughter. And that's the first part. And the second part, that your daughter knew what the frequencies were. So she's healing herself as well.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So that's a part of healing. You just, like we're not doctors or surgeons or anything like that. We don't go in and cut something out or remove it or patch it up. We can't even call ourselves healers, but we can generate the frequency and the energy of healing that only comes to us through what we call the miraculous energy. So she's doing the healing, and I'm generating the frequencies for her to help her with the healing, and that's what I do for everyone
Mm-hmm.
in a way like that. And so you know, I have been having some situations come up where someone lost a child, and someone sends them to me for healing, and you go like, you almost go, what can I do? But I stop. I don't even ask the question. If they're sent to me, that means
Mm-hmm.
they're, I must, you know, show up for them. And the mother came who lost a child, but she had another child with her, and she asked, "Is it okay? I can take him somewhere and let him stay." Why? I says, "No, he lost something too. His sibling. Bring him in the session." So he came in a session, and he was fascinated by the instruments, and he's like around 7, so he's really fascinated. And so I started the session on the mother, and he just laid down, and he loved. He started laughing when I did some of the sounds, like giggling, like it tickled him. So the frequencies that he can feel. Children is very sensitive, and he grabbed one of the instruments, and I said, "Well, okay, do it like that." And he went over the mother with the instrument, and the mother like was like, "Whoa!" And he touched her where she needed to be touched at, like. And so he's they're connecting the energy. So I'm just offering the situation, and he wind up participating in the whole sound healing part. And I gave him this thing here. It's like a vibraphone, but we call it like a little wah wah. And he just loved this, and he used this throughout the session with for his mom and him. He's washing himself and doing this. And so, what usually occurs
Wow.
that like when trauma happens to us, we get these harsh emotions that guilt or blame or uncertain. Where when you retune the frequencies back in, we come settle one within. So we get to deal with these emotions from a different standpoint on the outside of us, which was so beautiful for the mom today, because she may have felt guilt, and there was no guilt in the vibrations.
Mm-hmm.
So why are you feeling guilt? Do you know how much of a release that is for her?
Mm.
That's
Life changing.
that's the first part of healing,
Mm-hmm.
relieving the guilt. And that's also for the wound energy of the women that takes place, relieving the guilt. And these vibrations help create that. And yes, and if I would have said like, I don't know, I can't do that, it's too much.
Mm-hmm.
But I was called upon,
Mm-hmm.
by a certain higher frequency of from the universe to take care of this today. And it was a successful session, and she's been going to therapy. She says this has really helped break that ice. Well, even with my therapy, I was going through because I still felt a little trapped and suffocated by the guilt. And this was the first time she got a chance to break out of that guilt. And
Wow.
so this is also a new way of what my medicine is starting to work at as well. So and I have taken on women that've been through sexual abuse, and they're so um, repellent of the male energy, and certain things came out. And now they feel just as balanced as that energy, and they don't feel the guilt and they don't feel the threat. And not only that, they feel the protection around them that they're building, and the
Mm-hmm.
frequencies that they're going to start to build to help others and to be others aware. So I'm trying to put this in a name, but it has no name.
Mm-hmm.
It won't even, to, as we were discussing, how can we help others, get funding and help others like immigrants that come through there. They got to come through a system escaping. So people don't realize how much sexual abuse happened in there. They're escaping something that's horrible, war, and they're abused at the same time. So you leaving your home, your country is at war, you're abused, and you go into a place where you don't even have a home and you don't even speak the language, or you know, uh, this
Yeah.
is traumatism. So we can offer them the healing. We would like to do that in the future.
Yeah, I feel like trauma is really at the root of pretty much, I think, all of the problems in the
Hmm.
world. I feel like even talking to Mark about working in the men's shelter and thinking about people who are like homeless and addicted to drugs and stuff, like I think a lot of them, the root is trauma, whether it's sexual trauma, I think a lot of the time, or other forms of severe trauma. And if that can be healed from the root, then perhaps it helps to heal the other aspects of their life. What do you think about, so this is
Wait a
something.
minute before you start that. Save that. I want to mention that like the session we did together
Hmm.
was so connected. You took because I went in with a sound healing, and I felt all the energy. You had males and you had females there, so I felt some had wound energy, but Bailey took them through a breath exercise. You took them through, and it helped to reestablish them and feel them comfortable in their own skin, and relieve the tension. And so as I, start with the bells, I felt that by that time the tension was gone. They felt comfortable and they felt very open for the healing to take place with the poles,
Hmm.
because you have took them to a point of healing with the breath exercise. So we can use different forms and of healing through yoga, breath, breath work, sound. These are natural instruments made in Tibet, some made in, Tibet, Indonesia. There's more instruments, African drums, that also contribute to this. So Bailey does an amazing, you does amazing, and I love for us to keep collaborating on this.
Me too. I felt
Okay.
it was very powerful, and
Mm-hmm.
everyone there, like we texted some of our friends in Paris the day before, and then it was a full room, even
Mm-hmm.
overflowing the next day. So there was definitely a need for that, and everyone that was there is very much ready to do more of it. So
Mm-hmm.
it just is a glimpse at how, I think, after the whole, the world going through locking down, a lot of people losing people, the psychological effects of all of it, and on the kids and everything, Like the world needs healing. We all do. And that's why with the podcast, I've been thinking about this for a long time. And then I was listening to this podcaster speaking with an astrologist, and she was like, you know, if you have something inside of you that you have been feeling like you want to share, now is the time because the world's never needed it more.
Hmm.
Like, if you're getting that voice or getting that calling, it's for a reason because you're actually meant to step into
Hmm.
that and bring it into the planet. So I love us collaborating, and I think it makes sense also with just the years of you coming to play at shows I was putting on, and then the dancing, and how
Hmm.
there's like a healing element also with that. I really feel that I'm excited for all that we can create in that. And I'm one thing I want to ask about healing that I've actually had as a question, because I've been doing a lot of like, yeah, womb healing, working with different practitioners on working through trauma, sexual trauma, the breath work, all of these
Hmm.
things, yoga, and my art, healing through art. But yeah, for me and my experience, it's been certain things like certain plant medicine experiences or certain therapies. It's been like for sure a huge flip from one page to the next in terms of my healing. Like, you know, maybe before a treatment, every time I talked about one of those experiences, hyperventilating, shutting down, and then after doing a certain plant medicine, let's say, I could talk about it to anyone and not even really get emotional, except for like, usually when people are telling me about their things, that's when I get emotional. So, but then in other ways, it's been like just peeling off layers of an onion. Like,
Hmm.
do you think that it's a kind of thing where you can just have instantaneous total healing and then you're just like totally healed, there's nothing else to peel back? Or do you think it's more like as you pay attention, like as you keep investing in yourself, keep doing the self healing, keep meeting the people who do the different, like exploring the tools and keeping on that journey, you just keep peeling back layers of the onion?
Well, each individual is differently, because you can go and, like, I can start. Someone just want a healing. They have a big meeting at work, and then they're nervous about it. And I can go into a session with the bowls and tuning them in, and then something comes out traumatic, why they had fear to say something to their boss, and they go into emotional, like, really breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and you just, it's, each person are different, and they never expressed this to anyone before. And it's it's healing to express it at the same time, to let someone know what has taken place. And also, you have the ones that went through it and they express it to you, and they still feel like they're not getting the situation all the way taken care of, or peeling back those onion
Mm-hmm.
layers. So, like the wound healing course, with Deanna and Fred, I'm gonna send you a link to that.
Yeah, we'll
I
include it
think,
under this.
yeah, they should go into a deeper study of it, and try to help others as well too, because each one that goes to trauma, as we express and openly talk about it, be able to start the healing process.
Mm-hmm.
The most important. Start the healing process, because if you don't, you're going to start. You only left with the anger, the guilt, the emotions of why me, and you're only left with that. But
Mm-hmm.
you have started the healing process, so now you're bringing it to help others, and I think that's one of the most unique ways to even start. And I'm so proud of you, by the way. I'm
Thank
proud
you.
of you, and but also warn that we don't use it as a victim to torture others, because there have been cases where women or use that energy to torture other situations because they would have happened, and there have been tortures where men, cases where, I mean, situations where men will use that energy because they too afraid to even open up to say anything about it,
Mm-hmm.
and torture others from that. So we need to have that warm welcoming, and a group of consciousness that they can come into that's healing with love, and they can express that
Mhm.
without being judged or blamed or why was you wearing the dress at that time of night anyway? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Africa, you go there, hello, and I mean, not all parts of Africa, but the tribes. And
Mhm.
this is, where we need to respect the woman's situation at all costs, because as I said, she's a sacred nature instrument. I mean, not an instrument, but being. And we need to take care of her that way.
Mhm.
And all male energy, men need to be taught that way. And I don't know if it goes against their religions or whatever. Religion doesn't even have nothing to do with it, because without that woman, you won't have a child to even worship your gods. So check that out.
Mhm.
I think that we need to start to educate them with this energy, and the time is right now.
I agree. And I think with the healing that we're talking about, and like what you're saying, taking away the guilt and shame
Hmm.
aspect and just going into the healing. I mean, I'm interested also in talking to people who have like perpetrated such actions, because when
Hmm.
I was talking to somebody the other day who had also been sexually assaulted, and he was like, I'm actually grateful that I was like the victim of the situation and not the perpetrator, because
Hmm.
imagine like that guilt and karma and all of
Hmm.
shame that those people are carrying. And so I think that's a whole other aspect of it that needs to be
That you're
addressed.
correct. That's another healing form of that for the perpetrators. And for the perpetrators, it's like, if I'm going to say something, what I did, I'm going to be prosecuted or tortured or whatever. So there needs to be a spiritual aspect added to that, where they can confess what has taken place, but also leave it up to them, not leave it up to them, but take responsibility as well. And it's a very sensitive situation. And if you,
Seems like the only way to really do that is if it's with people who have already gotten in trouble for such an action, because then they're not scared of getting in trouble because they've already gotten in trouble. So then they're just left with the working through the aftermath of it.
yeah, that's another part, but also we have to find what led them up to that.
Exactly.
Was it drugs, or not being loved by the mother, or feeling in love with the father, or something traumatizing happened to them? We have to, like, what led up to that? What was,
Exactly.
not
That's
only what they did, but what led up to that event, and and that needs to be taken care of as well too.
totally, that's like the biggest.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things, because it's like when you was talking to a girl the other day and she was like, I just don't understand how a human can do something like that to another human. And
Hmm.
like, I can't imagine that either, but people do all the time,
Hmm.
every day, all kind of people, almost everybody experiences it. So that's the thing that I'm like, I think somehow creating a space for these people to be able to talk through all the emotions and all the shame and guilt and release it and forgive themselves and maybe ask for forgiveness and even understand and explore like what led me to that point,
Yeah,
you know?
it's not even asking for forgiveness, but it's the nature of your wrongs. The nature will ask for that, and now you have to ask to have that removed from you before you can even ask for forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can ask for forgiveness over and over again and still commit the same crime
Yeah,
or situation. So, we have to get to the point psychologically, the nature of that wrong, what led up to that.
mm-hmm.
And usually, what led up to that, they've been abused themselves as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
and that's one of the facts. Substance abuse, neglect, that's a lot of different things. I even say the media plays a role in all of that too,
Mm-hmm.
because they if you put something on the screen somewhere, well, I can't get that unless I take it,
Mm-hmm.
or I don't have to it's just so much different things that goes on.
Mhm.
And not only that, you have, I'm just sorry to say, you have cults around. I mean, not cults, but I don't know what to say, but
Like red tape or something like that.
no, no, but there's, kids have been transported around by a system of people that
Mm-hmm.
organize this stuff. They have to be dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't see, why, our greatest governments on the planet can't even stop these cults, but they can go in another country and bomb somebody that's, supposed to have weapons of mass destruction and don't. But
Mm-hmm.
they can't stop a cult from transporting kids across. So we have to look at and we taxpayers, we pay for that. And I'm not getting political, but I'm just trying to see the fact why you can't stop these, you know, child rings, but you can go over and zoom a drone in and everything like that. Why they can't stop it? Because there's something tied to that it has to be connected,
Yeah,
and so we have to
profitability.
eliminate that part and investigate that part why we're not dealing with that situation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the truth of the fact, and so it's, the same with the male lineage is and the female lineage, what is leads up to the nature of their wrongs, and find a way to deal with it, and before they even can ask for forgiveness, to remove this,
Mm-hmm.
obsession of wrongdoing. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you have to. It has to be done spiritually. You know.
So, what do you think for? Because I could talk with you for hours about all this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like for this, since we're doing a couples beautiful womb healing experience with Ladell,
Mm-hmm.
I would love to just kind of tie this up with for people watching, what is something like a tool or a practice that we can do at home for cleansing the womb space or like self healing in that kind of sense?
Well, I explained to someone, and even males to really stop to using their sexual energy just to relieve tension, and start to take care of that energy, because you don't see an animal really maybe just out there masturbating and something like that, which creates that unbalanced sexual energy. And I tell women to stop using, pay attention to using devices to pleasure themselves, and start nurturing the woman and treating her really well and good like that. And so her senses are not tuned into something that's artificial. It can tune into nature. I know it takes a lot of work and energy to do that, even for the males. Us males, pay attention, and that's one way to start to and treating. Okay, we're gonna heal it, and I say start there, and if you need to research more about it and healing the wound. But yeah, and get some therapy. Um, you know, I would like for us to do like a little book, and I would like to write a book about it, or something to help others with
Mm-hmm.
it, and also have some kind of images of videos and stuff like that along with it, and then also take it to different places and cities and towns where people can come in and
Make it more
participate.
accessible.
Yeah, make it more accessible, um, and create resources of outlets where they can reach out to, because someone can feel comfortable here, going there, or even dealing with the birth work, or coming over here to do the bowls.
Yeah.
So we need to make it accessible to them as well. And so the most part is stop damaging your wound with artificial stuff, and be very careful with treat it sacredly.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. Well, for those of you watching,
Mm-hmm.
I'm attaching the link underneath this video for where you can find Ladell, his music, his contact. If you want to book a session or go see one of his shows,
Hmm.
he's, yeah,
I
definitely.
only got it. I got my Instagram page, but I'm going to create a page for this,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll give you that. But they can contact me on my Instagram page, and I can outlet some resources and stuff that I have
Yeah,
for them.
wonderful.
Okay.
Yay! And get a womb healing session. We did one the other day and it was super powerful. I've worked with a bunch of different practitioners on things around the womb space and sexual trauma healing and everything. And this session, I could literally feel the energy moving through my chakras. Like it was a physical sensation, and that was new for me. So, and many other just really relevant impacts from it. So definitely suggest doing a session with Ladell. And also, if you're in a city that he happens to be in, go listen to him shred the guitar and sing because it is a transcendental experience.
Hmm.
And yeah, I'll put your Instagram below here. All right, biohackers, that was an awesome episode. Thank you so much for being here and present and active on this adventure. I would love to connect further with you. If you go to biohackwithbailey.com, you can sign up for the newsletter and we can connect more deeply through that avenue. Also, if you like what you've been hearing in this episode, please do take a moment to leave a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Also, subscribe to the channel, share with your friends and family if you feel so compelled to. You are invited. This is your official invitation to do so. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you on the next episode. Love you lots. And remember to breathe and enjoy the magical moments of life. See you later. Peace out, A-Town. Do, 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 do. Yeah.